We've all seen the movie The Matrix. It was interesting and fun on the big screen of the TV, but has it become a bit too real in your own life? Are you seeing glitches in the Matrix and trying to figure out what's happening? Have you been told that you've been tricked and that you need to fight against what they've done to you? The deception. Whether you're just beginning to notice, or if you've been searching for a more peaceful and congruent way to live without battling them, you're in the right place. I'm Ken, and I'll be joined by Eliza and Reina Stella. Let's explore together on the Liberty Ark. All right, and we are back for the Liberty Ark Podcast number 27, right? Somebody said something.
That's right,
Yes.
27.
All right, good. And I'm Ken, and I'm here with Eliza and Reina Stella, and we're going to have some fun tonight. So, Eliza, we're going to do a little reading first, like we usually do. This is going to be a lot shorter than we've sometimes done, which is not all a bad thing, right? We're going to try to get right to the point with this and not cover too much territory, but a very important piece of territory, because I think there's a lot of confusion around about the concept we're going to be talking about tonight. So, Eliza, you head right on into it, and I will bring up the right page here. There we go.
Very good. And last week, this is a continuation of our discussion last week, where we talked about the big shift in who holds the money power in the U.S. and eventually what happened throughout the world. That shift of who holds the money power then aligned with what changed on the money books, basically, and refers to a takeover, not a crash, not a bankruptcy, but it was a takeover of the money system. And that's how we're leading into this tonight. So episode 27, Emergency Banking Rules. What was also occurring was an emergency monetary powers transition, which is how it was sold legally. Leaders used emergency rules to pause normal money usage and impose limits. And those short-term fixes turned into the new normal by executive order, not a judge. It shows the legal trick and skips casual myths about how and why the money systems changed. Essentially, what occurred was a contractual revaluation of the dollar, which was sneaky but spot on. Deals made in dollars got a new meaning after they were signed, and gold promises in contracts were canceled. And as a result, what a dollar meant changed. It explains why people felt cheated and simply saw broken deals, not going broke. Yet it's still legally correct. In summary, the U.S. switched its money system from a gold-backed monetary system to a government-controlled fiat credit system where the government stopped gold swaps and changed what a dollar now meant. It was essentially a government takeover of money power, not a bankruptcy. People say bankruptcy because they feel it, a loss of their gold rights, debts moving around, deals reworked, and risks dumped on others. They're right about the impact, just wrong about the label. This was the rule makers changing the game.
I think this is really, really important for people to understand. The context can be really hard for people because anybody that's alive now hasn't been through directly a changeover in complete monetary situation. But, and I think it's especially if people haven't traveled overseas to other countries and used other currencies, you're just the U.S. dollar seems like it's just always been money, and that's not true. In fact, there is no requirement directly of money. It's whatever we agree to use and to consider value.
And we ask, it's like, why did the people feel cheated? It's because we went from a money, we'll say money source, a currency backed by real money that belonged to the people, the gold of the country. Fiat where the money, now the money power then could change the rules, and it was no longer backed by any asset that belonged to the people, no longer in control by the people.
Or even that the people know it really exists. We'll get into
There
that.
had to have been
100%.
Pushback, right, by the people, like losing their gold rights during that time. And more so, like here's where my biggest question is in this specific slide is how, like, this was legally done, right? Like, how do you think something like this could be legally done? And then I wonder, in the era we're in, I think we're about to experience it. So it's really important that we capture what happened to see if there's anything we can prepare with. But I have to say there's no way people accepted it and just went with the flow. Like, there had to have been chaos.
I wasn't there at the time, but this is my thought. Number one, how is something legal? Well, when the lawmakers are the ones that are doing the dirty deeds, they can make anything legal because they just change the laws to make them legal. And the other thing was you know who I'm talking about when I say they, right? They are very good at looking forward and making sure they create a situation which will make the people want to be compliant and patriotic and all those kinds of things in order to assist them in doing what they want to do. So
Yeah, but you also would think, though, Ken, and I understand what you're saying, but it's like, when you think legal, right, we think like, oh, there had to have been a court order. There had to have been, something that would allow the system to implement this on us. And I get it. I mean, the concept of, emergency powers and the executive orders they throw at us and all that. But it just seems like this emergency, or any emergency that usually should be temporary, just seems like it's ongoing forever.
yeah,
It's never temporary.
but they use.
But you look how.
Go ahead. They use the temporary in order to start it, and then it just never goes away.
Never goes away.
Go ahead, Elise.
Exactly. No, that's exactly it. And as long as we are under some sort of emergency, which they keep us in some sort of emergency always, since the Civil War, they have kept us in some sort of emergency in order to invoke and rule by emergency order. Okay, so, and at the time, tapping into the stigma of, you're not being patriotic, you're not supporting your country if you don't go along with this. I don't know if that would fly today, but, people today, as Ken said, they don't know any better. I will say, the average person does not really comprehend what a fiat money system is versus an asset-backed money system.
Now,
I'm using money system loosely.
yes. Now, if I'm learning this for the very first time, right, and the money system that's in place today, how does it impact me? What we're talking about, how does it impact me? Why is this important, and why should I care? I think this is very important because, again, we're in an era, the time we're in today. I think we're about to experience it again.
I think one of the keys people need to understand is they hear the word fiat a lot, and they bounce around what the word means. But I think the real key to understand is that we're in a credit-based system. Everything is based on credit. So I think people hear a lot that an FRN, a dollar bill, is a Federal Reserve note, which means a receivable, right? And your bank account is a liability on the bank's books because it's a receivable to you. So when you look at a company's financial statements, you're going to see cash in bank, and you're going to see petty cash, okay? The petty cash is the bills that are sitting under the desk, which are receivables from the Federal Reserve. Right? They're just debt instruments from the Federal Reserve. They're not things of value. They're receivables. and your cash in bank is a receivable from the bank. So you have no money. You have receivables because everything is based on credit. So the Federal Reserve is who the receivables are from that the bank holds, right? Just like the Federal Reserve notes you have in your hand, those are receivables from the Federal Reserve. The cash that's in your bank's account is a receivable from the Federal Reserve. The cash that's in your bank account, theoretically, is a receivable from your bank, which is a receivable from the Federal Reserve. So nobody has anything except a promise from somebody else.
And being a credit system, if you have a credit card and they continually increase your credit limit, right? Okay, this is what is continually happening, and it's increasing the quote unquote money supply, but diluting the value of it. And so we've had like a 97% inflation rate as to the value of those dollars. Okay, so now what we have, because this is fiat, this was well planned. The takeover of the quote unquote money system was exactly that, so it could be manipulated in basically unlimited spending that it's turned in today. But the inflation rate versus having 10 cents buy a dozen eggs, now it's what, $6-8 and up, depending on what eggs are doing. But this is what we're talking about, is the devaluation of the dollar because of the control over that money supply. You can't do that. You can't print more gold. The gold is, you'd have to go out and buy or earn or gain more gold for the money supply for backing an asset-backed currency, right? Which is real money. Then there are limits. With as Ken brought out, this is a credit-backed system. There are no limits.
Yeah, and growing up, I remember I'm assuming, of course, the U.S. is the base, and then it expanded globally. But I always remember hearing how everybody wanted to, have dollars, and I think to this day, right, that they still think that way, that dollars is the most valuable thing out there, when reality is the value in it has dropped so much. There is still value in it today because we give it value, but it's not worth what it used to be as we were growing up.
Well, think about a credit-based system. So let's say you want to borrow money, and they look at your credit report and they're seeing if you're credit worthy, right? Or you have to put up collateral, something that is of inherent value that they could take if you don't pay it back, right? So now you've got the U.S. government being the one that's supporting, backing all these receivables against them. But they don't have assets to collateralize them, right? But what they do have, just like if you were going to go to the bank and try to get a mortgage, you can either put up the collateral or you can show that you're creditworthy, that you have a job, you have a history of income to support that debt. Make sense?
Yes.
Well, who is the source of the income that the U.S. can use to support their credit?
Yours, ours.
You
The
and me.
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It used to have collateralized assets, and that's what went away, which means that's where all the whole birth certificate thing comes from, right? That demonstrates their credit worthiness because they have this mass of people to provide ongoing taxation income and an economic workforce to produce. And that's what supports the credit worthiness instead of collateral.
Today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great way to bring that together, Ken.
Yep. Yep. I still say with what you mentioned, Eliza, about it was very well planned, though they do it gradually and quietly. You just think of positioning yourself in that time frame, and it's the emotions were running super high on with people on the change that just took place from one day to the next. I'm sure it felt that way, though it was gradually and quietly done.
They had
I'm sure it felt that way.
They had a whole series of things through World War I and World War II that they utilized to manipulate the people, and it worked really, really, really well.
Including restricting the real money supply in order to create a depression that had the people rallied together to, quote unquote, pull out of a depression and save the country.
It's amazing.
Nothing is coincidental, right?
No, it's all planned, and it's planned really, really well, and it's planned worldwide. It's not just us. Yes, Rena Stella, you look like you have something to say.
No, crazy. It's just again the manipulation is very well planned.
Yep.
But using this history, though, I before we end this conversation today, if we can just touch a little bit on how we can utilize this history to prepare for what's coming for us today. I know we're focused on this topic, but before we end it, we can just touch on that a little bit would be great.
Eliza, you got some thoughts on that?
Let me think of how we can use this to prepare. I think that the best way we can prepare is through really comprehending, we say understanding, to really comprehend these different money supplies, because there's a lot of talk now about going back to an asset-backed system, but there's also coming into that stable coins, which again, we have more of a non-physically backed, asset-backed system. I mean, there is a lot going on in order to save the money system, what I was calling loosely the money system right now. So that's a huge topic, and I think we should give it, the proper attention that it needs in another conversation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, prepare through like opening your eyes, do a bit of study, and really comprehend what's going on.
I think
right
one
now.
of the real keys is to just understand that we've been digitally financialized to where all our theoretically valuable things are all just digits that if the lights go out, they're gone. All your stocks and bonds and all that, even your crypto, right? If the lights go out, how are you going to access them? Right?
Tokenization, right?
Mm-hmm. And they're trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper into tokenization. So, real stuff that you can hold in your hand, somebody could steal it from you or, slit your throat to get it, but that's about the only way they're going to get it, To me, everybody needs some amount of physical stuff. Now, you may or may not get substantial return on it, but it's not a question of return. It's a question of having something if the lights actually go out. So commodities, precious metals, real estate, those are the things that tend to have an inherent value. I'm not saying you need to put everything into those, but I wouldn't want to be someone who has none of that if the power grid goes down. Just like in some of the bad storms and stuff that you've seen down like North Carolina and that, if when it all goes down, how are you going to buy something at the grocery store? How are you going to get gasoline? I mean, you've got to have your credit cards aren't going to work. The digital stuff is not going to work in that moment. So you need something that's tradable. Cigarettes and beer are one of the best
for bartering.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to go ahead, Eliza. Go ahead.
I think we're sort of at the end of where we like to keep this. It's a big topic to discuss that you brought up, Rena Stella, And I think in another podcast, we can go into that more in depth. It's not to cut it off because it's important, but it's to make sure that we address it, like it deserves.
For
I
sure,
think.
for sure. I think it'd be great to do that. Now, I do want to come back to the slides here really quick. I just want to say, like, before we end this, that even though we are following the rules, right? Like good abiding citizens and so forth, at the end of the day, we all, at least personally, right? It feels like we're always cheated somehow, one way or the other. So I think in what we just touched on, right? I guess recognizing the difference between truth, I guess emotional truth and legal truth, right? And why understanding this history does give us more awareness of how money really works today is crucial. It's so important. I think money in general is a very challenging topic for all of us. Like a lot of people don't like talking about finances and so forth, but it's so important for us to understand how it really works today, because we are about to experience something huge with the transition that's taking place. So yes, I would love to have a podcast dedicated to that. Hopefully, right after we finish this read here. But I appreciate you guys. Today was short, sweet, simple, but very important.
Awesome. Thank
All
you
right.
both.
I am done. I
Fantastic.
don't know about you guys.
Yep.
All good?
We're out of here.
Okay.
All
Very
good.
right.
Very good.
Thank you so much,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks for being with us.
Have a great week.
All right, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The views expressed in this Liberty Ark podcast are for informational and educational purposes only. They do not constitute legal or tax advice, and they may not reflect the official positions of anyone at all, really. We want to express our appreciation to the authors of the unpublished manuscript titled The Great International Heist, on which the Liberty Ark podcast is based. Rebecca and Jonathan Rodriguez, the authors, provide courses that go into much greater depth and are available at libertyarkpodcast.com/white rabbit.